Welcome to the Haunted Hangover podcast. I'm Louie, and I'm joined by a guest in this episode. I met this gentleman recently at the Long Island Convention of Horror. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. It was the inaugural time. It was their first time they were running this convention. I met this dude there, and I told him, you know what? You were kind of pushing your film, and I was like, this looks really interesting. Gotta have you as a guest on the show. And that is Mike Tuite. He's a filmmaker, producer, and writer of the short film Polybius, which I just learned I might be pronouncing wrong. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you. Glad to be here, man.
we were just before we recorded here. You corrected me with the title of your film, or not even your film, The Urban Legend, which we're going to get into a little later. But
Sure.
I've been pronouncing it Polybius for 20 years or 15 years at this point.
And who knows? You could very well be pronouncing it correct, and maybe we're saying it wrong. Who the hell knows? You know.
So how do you pronounce it? Say it.
I say Polybius.
Polybius.
Polybius. Yeah.
And some people say Polybius.
Polybius. Yeah. When I did this film with my buddy Jimmy, we both wrote it together, we produced it together, and he directed. And when we were writing the script, we were pronouncing it the way you're pronouncing it. We only started pronouncing it differently after we started hearing some other people pronounce it this way, and we were like, maybe they got it right actually. So we changed, but the whole process of writing scripts to starting to win awards with the script, we were pronouncing it that way. So we were late adopters to the way we pronounce it now.
I love how you guys learned the pronunciation while you were hitting the festival circuit.
Sure, yeah.
Right in the middle.
With the script, at least. By the time we made the film, we were pronouncing it the way we do now. But with the script, we were already in festivals with the script, and we were winning. We won for Best Unproduced Short at New York City Horror Film Festival. And when one of the key guys there, Sean Marks, when he brought us up when we won, that he pronounced it that way, and I was clicked in my head immediately. I was like, oh wow, I think that's probably exactly how it's pronounced. So he's the one I can credit with that.
Oh man, I've been pronouncing it wrong for years. That's kind of probably what you told yourself.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, oh shit, But hey, at least you knew about it. You knew about the urban legend. You know what I mean?
No, of course. That was the most important thing, is that you won an award at the festival, man. So who cares the pronunciation of the urban legend?
Yeah, absolutely.
Now filmmaking. Your sort of your journey as a fellow filmmaker. I'm a filmmaker as well. That's kind of sure. I always joke around, and I haven't really, honestly, I've said this before on the show. I haven't really delved too deep in that part of my life. One of my other co-hosts, he's also a filmmaker. We came up together working on stuff, and it's a struggle. It's a constant battle. Yeah. Well, how did you get started as a filmmaker? Kind of your journey to get into the point of actually producing something that got made, something that you can watch. Sure.
So, I mean, I'm sure just like you guys with your origin story, I mean, I grew up watching tons of films, just taking in everything, wanting to tell stories, wanting to be a filmmaker, and did that stuff in high school, made little films. I went to Suffolk Community College. I took all the film courses they had and was making films in college. The first real movie I worked on was there was a $100,000 indie horror film that was shooting out by me. I live in Eastern Suffolk County, and there was this horror movie called Spiker. At the time, they were making it called Blood Rails. Well, it wasn't really that. It was all right, but it was the first real movie I worked on a real set. And I was like, oh wow, as a production assistant, it was cool getting that experience and meeting people, and people I met on that set, I'm friends with to this day. It brought me into circles I wasn't in yet. I was kind of an outsider, doing my own thing, and the way you meet people, and all of a sudden it brings you into circles you weren't in yet, and you're like, oh man, and the horror community especially is super cool. Everybody I've found has just been always really cool. Everyone's really they reach hands down to other people. They're building people up. They're supporting each other's work. And like, I mean, going to film festivals, going to horror conventions, I've always found the horror community is great. But yeah,
I always say this. It's kind of like my own mantra. Something I always say is like when you make a movie or work on a set with people, those people will always, even if you don't see each other that often, it's like you guys did this kind of traumatic. You had this traumatic experience together, which is making a movie. You're tired. It's excruciating sometimes, but you kind of got this product made, whether it's a short film, a feature, and when you do reconnect with people, it's like no time has passed because you spend so much time together on set. So I agree with you. You end up staying friends with the people you kind of work with, even if you don't get to talk to them with social media nowadays and the way things are, you kind of stay connected no matter what.
Sure. Absolutely.
Now, how many films have you written and produced altogether?
So, honestly, I mean, not as many as you, probably, my friend. I mean, I've, there's tons, there's a lot of stuff I did when I was in school that I don't even count that. That's like learning, you know what I mean? Like none of them are on my IMDb and stuff. That's just stuff I learned. But like, honestly, I mean, Polybius is my biggest one to date that I was, like part of the key creative team. Like it's just me and my buddy, Jimmy Kelly. We wrote it, produced it together. But, honestly, like, I mean, we did a film before that, another short, which we did for like no money. It was called, Return to South Haven, that we based that on, like, I don't know if you ever heard of in 94, there was like a crash landing in South Haven Park, in Suffolk County. And like, I don't know whether it was a UFO, whether it was a government classified aircraft, whatever it was, something crash landed. And it was like, it was a whole thing when it happened. Like, I mean, the local fire department and police department, like they were all turned away. It was only federal government level people that were there. Yeah, like, so it was this big thing. Like there used to be this show Sightings. They did an episode that covered it. So that was like a local thing we wrote about together. We did a little no budget short doing that. But those, like, I mean, there's a couple things I'm writing right now. But honestly, as far as things like real projects that I've been like a creator on, not just like helping out with stuff, those are really that's most of it, man. I mean, I've been involved in a lot of like crowdfunding things, but that's, you're helping other people, giving some money to people. I've helped put people in touch with people, but I'm still young in my career here with this stuff. You know what I mean?
As a filmmaker now, it's, I said it a few minutes ago. It's traumatic. What is one of the more what was one of the more difficult aspects? And we're going to get into your film a little later in the show. But what's one of the more difficult aspects about creating? So you wrote the script, you guys wrote the script, and then taking what's on the paper and making it a reality, having actors, and you have a big actor in yours. When we get to the actual short, we're gonna talk about that. Getting the paper, getting the words on the paper into an actual film. What was with this project? What was one of the more difficult aspects?
As far as the script, just part?
Getting it made. Not even writing a screenplay is the easy part, man. For the most part.
Okay, getting it made. All right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, so as you mentioned, we had this name actor in this project that we kind of wrote this part for, never thinking we'd have a chance to get this guy. We wanted like a type of him, we wanted like an archetype. But when we got him, and we'll get into that later, like we had to do the film through the Screen Actors Guild, and that's only a 17-minute short film. So we had to do the whole film through SAG. I'd never done anything like that through SAG, especially not that I'm like in charge of with my buddy. So that the whole thing, doing it through SAG, was a big thing. We didn't get like we had to get like a production ID number and everything, and it takes, they say it takes 3 weeks. Took us like 5. We got that number, and he couldn't sign on until we had that number. We got that number on like a Friday, and he was supposed to be coming out like the following Wednesday. So it all really happened at the last minute to make it official for him to sign on. So that was difficult. And again, just the acting like you've been there before kind of stuff, like all the paperwork for SAG. And you feel like, man, I hope, I hope I'm doing this right. I hope I don't screw this up, and like, he was super cool though. He was just like, with time cards, he's like, you can just fill it out. He's like, I'll sign it. It's fine. Like,
Yeah.
he was super cool. But that
I,
was stuff I was nervous about.
my last project had SAG-AFTRA actors in it, but not as well known a name as what you who you worked with. So I didn't have to deal. We had some stuff we had to abide by, and there's loopholes, and been in the game long enough to know them. And become friends with these actors, so it's like they're doing their buddy a favor, even though they technically are part of the union.
Sure.
But that's where you sort of figure things out. But in your case, that would have been impossible to do because of who it is, and we'll talk about him in a few minutes.
Sure.
Now, with filmmaking and sort of the journey you're going in, like you said, you're in your infancy, I guess, of the filmmaking journey. And the writing, is it writing and producing that you're trying to stick with mostly, or are you trying to direct as well? Because I feel like in the indie film world, especially on our level, where it's kind of like not the biggest budgets. There's always people that want to produce. People like me, I'm a director, editor. That's me. I can write a screenplay. I've written a bunch. I've gotten them made. But I'm a director, editor at heart. That's kind of my strong suit. I think I can run a set, and I know what I want, so I can edit it and bring that to life. Is that what you're trying to? Are you trying to stick with kind of the producer writer? Or you want to direct eventually?
I like the writing. I like the producing. I do like the logistical kind of stuff that comes with producing. That stuff is fun to me. I really like that.
A lot of work, man.
A lot of work. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I would like to direct again eventually. I mean, I haven't directed anything since college, probably, when I was doing my own little films and stuff. So it's been a long time since I've directed, but I would like to get behind the camera, direct again. Just, it's got to be the right project, I guess, and with the right crew because again, it's been a long time since I've done it. So I'd want to make sure I'm working with people that I can trust and they trust me, and I'd like to do it again though.
Yeah, trust is key, man, especially on set. You don't want to work with people that are going to, there's always headaches, but you don't want to work with people that are a pain in the ass, that aren't a part of the team and kind of bringing you from point A to point Z, basically, because that's how a movie's made. Man, that's there's people that I've met that they don't want to direct. They like, and I take it after watching your film and us talking that you're a hands-on producer. So you're handling all the logistical stuff, all the behind the scenes stuff, all the annoying shit.
Sure, yeah.
But at the same time, since you help write the script, I'm sure on set you kind of give your director like some input, like, hey man, this would be cool, that would be cool. I'm sure you're one of your lead actors when we talk about him in a few minutes. That was, I'm sure you guys were excited. I'm sure you played a big part in making that a reality. Like you said, all the work you put in with the union and SAG, etc. So there's producers that just like, here's $5,000 and I leave you alone.
Just here.
Yeah, I mean, that's the dream sometimes, but then there's also producers. I have a producing partner of mine, me and her, we've worked on 2 or 3 projects together, and she's a hands-on producer, but she trusts me. So as a director and an editor, she's like, Louie got this. I can't answer all these questions. She's going to focus on making sure everything's running smoothly. Everything is, cross the T's, dot the I's and all that stuff. And that's kind of the more that I say producing is probably the harder. I mean, directing's hard too, but just having to deal with making sure everyone's okay. Whereas a director's really just worried about the crew that's there, cameras, sound, and their actors. So,
Sure, and I'm sure you like having a producer that's, they're going to let you do your thing, creative, bring your vision to life, and they're going to move problems out of your way before they become problems, and they're going to handle all that stuff. And, and that's where that trust comes back in, where she trusts you, you trust her, and you guys each know which stuff you've got to handle to make the other person's job, easy where they can do what they want to do. So
Yeah, there's a lot of filmmakers out there that want to be producers and everyone wants to be a director, but that's also a really difficult job. But a lot of people want to be producers,
yeah,
and they don't realize like you're not just hanging out on set taking pictures of what people are doing. You got to actually step it up and organize the set and make sure you're on schedule, everything's set.
Yeah.
It's making movies, whether a short film, a feature film. It's crazy. It's crazy. You got to be a crazy person.
I learned a lot. I mean, making Polybius. I mean, again, that was the biggest thing I had done as a producer. I mean, I'd done little small stuff. I'd worked on other projects and like I did my own little things, but that was where I was like, wow, you're in the big leagues now, man. And there's like, you got to get it right. And like, I learned so many lessons on that set where I was like, man, next time I want to have this done ahead of time. I want to do like things I was scrambling to do that I was like, man, with a little bit more planning or a little bit more, just even something as simple as like all these different release forms, just having more of them printed out before I got to set, where now all of a sudden, you're corralling up background people and getting all these forms signed before they're on camera. And you're like, man, I could have done this ahead of time. I could have come with 50 of these sheets pre-printed and not be worried about where the hell I can hook up a printer and like try to get all this stuff, like little stuff like that, where I was like, man, I could have been better prepared for this. I was learning a lot of that stuff on the fly, even things like getting all those forms signed. Like there was a lot of time I spent running around getting forms signed by people where I was like, man, I could have had like an assistant today, a friend of mine who was just helping me out, be like, hey, these are all the people. I need you to get each of them signed, bring them back to me. And I could have focused on, backing Jimmy up more with some of the stuff. And so there were things like that I learned where I was like, oh, I could be so much better prepared next time,
Yeah, I always, every film, I always say it to myself because just to get myself through the day with things, every film, even every podcast, anything creative, you learn something.
Yeah, absolutely.
You learn something. You're never, I feel, at least now at this point in my life, you never stop learning. Every film, every project, you're going to learn something. You're like, oh, I should have done that differently. You're never going to feel, it's never going to happen. You're never going to feel, you just can do the best you can. And I'll say this, I watched your film and you did a good job, man. So it doesn't, I've made a lot of garbage myself. I've done stuff I'm proud of. I've done some stuff I'm not so proud of. And
me too.
And you did a good job. I could just tell that by what I saw. You guys ran a professional set. I wasn't there, so I'm just looking at looking at the final product. But you could just tell a lot of love and passion went into the film and what you guys were trying to achieve. And I'm sure you overachieved with what you ended up getting. You guys were like, oh, wow, we didn't expect to do this, and to do that. You surprise yourself with projects sometimes, even if it's one shot or a scene or a piece of dialogue or an actor you cast, it always ends up kind of working out, and then you learn something new, and you sort of take what you learned from that project and bring it into the next one.
Absolutely.
All right, man. So you've listened to the show, right?
I have. Yep, I have.
And you're wearing a Halloween 3 shirt right now. And here at Haunted Hangover, we love the Halloween season. We love horror, obviously.
Yeah.
And I thought before we move forward and focus strictly on Polybius and more of your film, I want you to share one of your favorite Halloween memories from the past.
Oh, man. All right. So, I mean, I'm like you. I've always loved Halloween. I've always loved the season. I mean, I remember when I was like a little kid, we didn't have the money for all these, and they didn't have all these awesome costumes when we were kids either, where they had a costume for everything. I mean, my mom was making stuff out of like what we had. They weren't the coolest costumes always, but I appreciated that she'd make something, and I'd be envious of the friends of mine who had the awesome, Jason mask or something. I'm like, oh, that's so cool. Damn it, I don't have that, but that was always cool. Just going out trick-or-treating when you're a kid, and then by the time you get to like middle school, junior high, you're going out with your friends, you're egging and shaving creaming each other, like that was always fun. It just like, it felt like that was the night where like all the kids like roamed the streets and ran the place. And that was just always awesome. I look forward to that all the time. I mean, getting big ass pillowcases full of candy. I mean, I don't need all that candy, but I didn't need it then. But yeah, I was getting it, man. You know, but I love it. I always loved Halloween.
Is it a big part of your life still to this day?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, as a big horror fan, I mean, Halloween's awesome. I like if you walk in my apartment, man, it's like I'm and again, I'm a single guy with no kids, so my place is like this is like wall to wall horror decor, horror artwork, frames on the walls. Um, I remember 2 years ago, my buddy was coming over with his new girlfriend, and it happened to be October, and so they walk in. He's been here a million times. They walk in and she looks. She's like, "Oh wow, you go all out for the season." And we both kind of like laughed, and she's like, "What was that?" And we're like, "Oh, it's just like this year round, you know. Like this is what I live, man."
No,
So
man,
yeah,
same here,
Halloween's
man.
important.
Same here, man.
Halloween's big for me.
Yeah, it's a way of life, I guess.
Absolutely,
uh,
absolutely.
do you what kind of had you gravitate towards horror and Halloween as a kid? Like, what was it that why did it stand out to you, and then something that was such a big part of your life?
Well, I mean, you know, like again, I always loved horror films. I
Yeah,
loved, you know, scary story. Even when I was like a kid, I was like a Boy Scout, like telling scary stories around the campfire. I loved that. I lived for that stuff. You know, so I like Halloween's just always been awesome for me. I love horror films. Love horror games that came out. But when we were younger, I mean, we're probably about the same age. When we were younger, like horror is super mainstream now, and horror is like a whole subculture that's really embraced by the masses. But like when we were younger, like you were kind of the weird kid if you were in all the
yeah,
horror films, and that's fine. I wore it like a badge of honor. I don't care, you know. I shared horror with a lot of people, you know, but it's always been a core pillar of my life, you know, definitely.
yeah. I've asked this question to many people on the show, and a lot of the times they say the same thing. They're like, it wasn't as big a deal in the 80s and the 90s, and then as you get older, it becomes a part of you, and it's like
Yeah,
being the weird person that's into like spooky shit. Like that's
yeah,
kind of what it
yeah,
evolves into, and then it just becomes a part of your life, because there's people that like love horror movies. There's people
sure.
that love horror movies and love
Yeah, yeah,
Halloween.
yeah,
So,
yeah,
and there's people that love horror movies and don't like Halloween. Vice versa as well. Love Halloween, don't like horror movies. I don't understand those
yeah. I
people.
don't get that one. Yeah,
That one confuses me, but it
yeah,
does exist. It's a thing. So
yeah,
I I just take it for what it is when someone tells me that, "Oh, I love Halloween, but I hate horror movies." I'm like, "Okay, cool.
you
I
like,
don't."
all right, you know,
It always
yeah,
confuses me. I'm always left
yeah,
dumbfounded by the fact that they don't like horror movies but love Halloween. People that don't love Halloween, I just don't talk to them. I avoid
yeah.
as little communication as possible for those type of people. Now, to dive into Polybius, aka Polybius, how I've been pronouncing it. Now, this is, and I want you, Mike, to give me any input you'd like while I break down this urban legend. Now, my own personal. So it's funny. So, my own personal experience or memory of this legend, I thought it was real for a long time. I thought it was like, honestly, I probably didn't think, I thought it was a real game for at least 10 years, maybe. And then it eventually did become a real game.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
now it's an
Over
actual
there.
game you can play.
Oh yeah.
But for a long time, I thought it was a real thing until I started to do a deep dive. And I think I accidentally came across discovering that it was an urban legend, like a
Right.
creepy pasta, urban legend,
Yeah, yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
Creepy pastas are a new form of urban legends, basically,
Sure. Yeah, sure,
for a
sure.
different demographic of people. But for many years, I thought it was legit a game, and people were
Yeah.
having seizures and being obsessed with playing with it, etc. I've got a little breakdown of what the legend is. Now, you, Mike, did you think this was legit at any point in your life?
I wasn't 100% sure. Again, like I knew, like I probably the first time I heard about it was like a Game Pro magazine.
Yeah.
I think like in like 2000 or something, there was like an article about like the top 5 mysteries of like, the video game industry or something. This was one of them. And I remember reading about it, being like, oh, that's weird. And then it came up in conversations over the years. So I guess I was like, I didn't know if it was like a conspiracy theory that like happened, but you couldn't prove it, or like if it didn't, I wasn't sure. I was kind of in the air about it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's one of those things. I put it up there with like Bigfoot and stuff like that, and a lot of other urban, especially with like viral, viral. This predates kind of any viral urban myth or creepypasta. That this predates a lot of the stuff like Jimmy the Killer or Johnny the Killer. I forget. There's so many of like, don't watch this video or you'll die or something like that. Like that's like a YouTube. That's like the YouTube years basically.
Yeah.
And for me, I couldn't even tell. I feel like I came across this on like a blog or a forum and thought it was a legit arcade cabinet that was in arcades and then was removed because of one person that died. Like I legit thought that for many years. And then when I went back and I started reading and watching videos and doing more research, I realized I was like, I'm an idiot. This was obviously fabricated and not a real story. So here's the legend, and Mike, feel free to add to this.
Sure.
So Polybius, or I'm gonna get to what is it? Polybius? How do you say?
Polybius, I say.
Polybius is an urban legend that originated. Now, what I could find online is either the late 90s or like the early to mid 2000s. I think 2009 is a date I came across twice on 2 different sites. That was the first time someone I think wrote about it on a website. That feels way too late. I feel like I heard about it before that. So that doesn't sound accurate, because I remember hearing about that. I feel like before Reddit on like other forums and stuff like that, hearing about it. So the legend goes that an arcade cabinet was produced in 1981 by the government. And it caused several deaths due to its addictive nature. And this caused the player to sort of become obsessed with it. And then it eventually led to them offing themselves eventually. Or it appeared that they'd off themselves after being so sort of obsessed with the cabinet, with the arcade game. And they also claim that the infamous, another urban myth, Men in Black, not Will Smith and Tommy Lee Jones, like the government agent, the Men in Black agents, I guess, not those, would often be seen visiting the cabinet and sort of removing it and pulling, like they pull analytics from each one, because the cabinet itself, the arcade game, was an experiment. Right? That about sums up the what the arcade cabinet is. Also, I want to state, and the legend varies from different versions you read. Apparently, it only was like the cabinets were only out and about for a month or so, and then were removed after several deaths, and then it vanished quickly. And to this day, people claim they played it in the 80s and the 90s. It was at a pizzeria. It was at an arcade. And occasionally, they'd say that they own an actual cabinet from the 80s, or that there's people that claim they have the ROM file of the game. And that's always fabricated. It's always someone made the game.
Someone made the game, sure, yeah.
To mimic what is said in the legend, because this is supposed to be like an early Atari style,
if we're talking 1981, this is
not PlayStation 5 graphics, guys. This is like lines and polygons and and weird stuff. If you do a quick YouTube search, you guys can find several videos that dive into this. And I will say it is a very eerie urban legend, being a guy who's I love video games, and hearing about it and just kind of reading about it and thinking it was a real thing, like for such a long time, and believing it was just kind of bizarre. One funny thing too that makes me laugh that I never put two and two together. So I'm a big fan of the film Nightmares from 1983. I don't know if you're familiar with it. So
I know of it. I have not seen it, actually.
It's an anthology film. It's an anthology film, like Creepshow, etc.
Okay, great. Excellent movie, Creepshow.
Yeah, of course.
Of course, yeah.
That's a classic. There's a segment in that film with Emilio Estevez, and he's obsessed with getting a high score and beating this game called The Battle of Bishop. And there's like a face in it that talks to him and stuff. This came out in 83. So I don't know how I'd never put two and two together. That was obviously, I'm assuming that had to have been maybe where people got inspired to make the urban legend, because it's such an obscure film that I'm like, that sounds like Nightmares, the Emilio Estevez segment. And that was 83. They say 81 is when these cabinets were around, and the legend didn't really start till late 90s, early to mid 2000s. So someone out there likes the movie Nightmares, and I will die on this hill. Someone loves the movie Nightmares and decided to fabricate an urban legend based on that movie. I will say that to this day. Now, Mike.
It could very well be.
Now, Mike, why did you... And now, correct me if I'm wrong, I have never seen, outside of Nightmares, which I think was the inspiration for this urban legend, I have never seen any other films based on this urban myth. So what inspired you? At least I haven't. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but what was it about this specific story, this faux cabinet, arcade cabinet that kills people? What about it inspired you to basically write an entire script and produce a film about it?
So, I mean, I'm like I said, I'd heard about this thing a long time ago, and it had come up again. A buddy of mine has a couple retro video game stores called Game On, and my buddy Tristan, great guy. I was in his store one day, and I was talking to a random customer there that to this day, I don't know who this kid was, but Polybius came up in conversation. I was like, oh yeah, that's right, I remember that thing. And it was like, it got me really thinking about it. And like a couple of weeks later is when Jimmy and I started meeting together to start writing something. And we were pitching each other ideas, what we wanted to do. And this was an idea I threw at him, and he really liked it. But I was attracted to the story because I love stuff that deals with like conspiracy. I love stuff that deals with like shadowy type of like, I mean, like with the Men in Black aspect of the Polybius urban legends, like I like stuff like that where it's like, these are guys, they're not the IR, they're not the CIA, they're not the FBI. These are like, they're part of like a black project that's not on the books anywhere, if they exist. You know what I mean? Like, this is like, and the other thing that was an interesting tie for me that I thought was, again, when you're not sure if this thing ever happened or didn't, probably didn't, but when you know something like MK Ultra was declassified in like the 90s, and you're like, that's really far-fetched too. And that was a conspiracy theory for years, decades. And then when it was confirmed by like declassified information, you're like, wow, well, if that was real, this isn't too much crazier than that. This could have been like a branch of research they were doing with something like MK Ultra. You know what I mean? So then it starts, every time you start to think, no, it's probably not real, something little like that comes to your mind where you're like, maybe? I don't know. Like, could go either way, but it probably never existed. But, but again, but even that, I love something like that. That's, something that's like, I guess like ambiguous like that, where you can argue either way. I mean, like one of my favorite films of all time, John Carpenter's The Thing, the end. Awesome. I love the ending of The Thing. You know what I mean? Like, Halloween 3, Season of the Witch, big fanatic for that film. Been defending that movie my whole life. That's an ending where like people are like, did he stop it? Like did the third channel go off or not? And like people argue each way. So I love endings like that you're talking about 40 years later. So I don't know, but I was always attracted to the idea, and so when it was something I was passionate about writing, Jimmy really liked the idea, and so that was something we ran with together.
Yeah, the story itself, to me, what's so interesting about it is it's using the 80s, an arcade game, but
Yeah.
it was created, the story itself was created like 20 years later. So I just find it so interesting. And I think if I remember correctly, just reading, doing some research, I think Oregon is where they say the first
Portland,
cabinet.
Oregon. Yep.
Yeah, like
Portland,
that
Oregon.
that was where the first cabinet popped up.
Yep. Yep.
And just the fact that to this day, you can go on eBay, you can Google it. There's people claiming to have pictures of the cabinet in the back of
Oh
a
yeah.
warehouse.
Yeah.
I love my
Yeah.
favorite pictures are when they find like you can tell they set it up. Like they found the
Oh yeah.
cabinet.
Oh
They
yeah.
made the cabinet all old and
Yeah.
dusty and they're like
Yeah.
cobwebs on it. And you're like,
Yeah.
oh, we found and it's eerie.
Yeah.
It's like the
Oh yeah.
ghost
Yeah.
videos. Like when you watch like
Yeah.
ghost videos on YouTube.
Yeah.
And the other day I was watching a bunch of like creepy ring light videos on YouTube. And I compare it to that stuff where it's like, you know, people go to great lengths to make these legends, these myths a real thing.
Yeah.
And like
Oh
just
yeah.
putting up a picture of I think I don't know if it was an abandoned pizzeria or an abandoned arcade. This was years ago. I remember seeing a picture of a Polybius cabinet. And they were like, oh, we found one in a back room. And they told a whole story that they
Yeah.
went the next day and it was gone. And like,
God. Yeah.
and they went
Yeah.
back to get it with a truck. And like you read that and you're like, this is how urban legends become reality
Oh
with
yeah.
something like
Sure.
something like
Sure.
this and all the other ones, you know, the pop rocks and soda, which is like what I
Yeah.
would say
Yeah.
probably the urban legend that everyone knows, you know?
Yeah. And that a lot of people have tried on their own to be like, will it do it? You know, like, yeah. Yeah.
And then you're like,
Totally.
it didn't do anything.
It didn't do anything. Yeah.
I'm still here.
It,
Then you
it
find
was.
out, oh no, it was a special batch
Oh
of
yeah.
pop rocks.
Well, to me, it was just delicious. You know, like.
I think when I did it when I was like I think I was in high school or elementary school. I did the pop rocks and soda thing.
Yeah.
And I think a kid in my class goes, "Oh no! They stopped. There was an ingredient in the
There
original
you go.
version,
Yeah.
the
Yeah. There you
recipe
go.
to the original Pop Rocks, and that is what triggers the soda and makes your stomach explode." So it's great. And I
Yeah.
get a
Yeah.
kick out of
Yeah.
it, and just kind of the creepiness of it all. It's what goes when you read the story. It's not
Yeah.
that creepy. Like it's creepy,
Yeah.
but you've heard it a million
Yeah.
times, so you're kind of
Sure. Yeah.
desensitized. But
Yeah.
it's those details that people go to great lengths
Oh
to
yeah.
to make
We
it seem real.
we had a guy reach out to us on our like social media page for the movie. Like we had a guy DM us on Facebook or Instagram, and I think it was Instagram, and he was like telling us like I played the game back in 1981. You know, I'm in Portland, Oregon. I still have my journal from what I was playing back then. You know, like so it's like and like well maybe you wrote that stuff now. You know, I don't like, but like so I mean that's not like a smoking gun because you bring out a journal that could have been written at any time after the fact. But it was, but it was interesting. But like you said, people will go to great lengths to make it real. And
Yeah.
we had to share that too.
But you guys told him like you're still here, dude. It was like over 40
Yeah,
years
no,
ago.
oh
Not
yeah.
even more than that. Like it's like
No,
why would
yeah, that's like
why would you think like according to the legend you should not be around if you played the
yeah,
game. So you're still kicking, huh?
I think he said something like I think he said like he had lost a period of his memory and then it had all
Interesting.
started coming back now and stuff. And I was like, all right.
He
But
watched
but
your
he
film. Your film
yeah,
triggered
oh, yeah, there
memories
you
in his
go. Yeah,
brain.
yeah, yeah, there you go.
That's what
No,
it
but
was.
he wanted to convince us that this was real and he had a connection to it. He played it, you know.
I mean, I would love to just play a fake, like one of the cabinets, the fake cabinet, like one of the
Oh
fake
yeah, yeah, yeah.
cabinets that exist.
Sure,
And that's a good segue to go back to your film now with
sure,
the
sure.
mentioning of the fake faux Polybius
Yeah,
cabinet and your film. So
sure.
now I don't want to spoil your movie? Because are you guys still hitting the festival circuit currently?
So we're not really doing the festivals anymore, but we are still trying to get the feature length film made, and so we can get into that. But like, yeah, so we don't have the film out there just yet. So we're still kind of keeping stuff close to the chest on some of the spoilers, but yeah.
I'll do my best here to not spoil everything that happens in it.
You can talk about it, but
you mentioned trying to get it. So after watching it, I could totally see it being a feature length film.
Oh, totally, yeah.
Yeah. It feels like the first chapter of a larger story, which I'm assuming it is, right?
The feature script, pretty much what you watch in the 17-minute short film is pretty much like the first act. And then it just kind of opens up from there, and the world opens up and it expands, and but that's pretty much the opening act.
Have you guys got any interest from investors or anything to kind of put it together as a feature-length film?
Yeah, I mean, over the years, and Jimmy's really run point on that. He goes to AFM every year in California. I mean, we've been in different levels of talks with a couple of different companies out there about trying to partner up on this thing. We've, you know how it is, man. Sometimes some of these movies you see come out, sometimes it took 10 years to get there, So we have been in talks with some other companies, and we've gotten script notes from some of them that they're like, well, we like it. We want to see some more of this or that. And so we've taken that feedback, and we've done other drafts of the script, or we've incorporated some of that. Jimmy just did another pass on it now. I actually got to read what he did real quick. And then we're going to work together on another pass together with some of my feedback. But so we're still working on this thing, and we have a feature length script for the expansion of the story you saw. We have a prequel script, and we have a sequel script. So we have we have a lot of stuff for Polybius, a lot of ideas, what we'd love to do. But yeah, so the short answer, yes, we are still talking to some people about partnering up on this thing and trying to get the feature length made, and I got to get into some of the other stuff then to talk about.
Listen, man, it's tough to make as a guy who's I've directed a feature, and I wrote, my first film was 2013. My first feature length film of any involvement was 2013. One of my co-hosts, he directed it. I wrote it and shot it with him. It's tough, man. I mean, we didn't know what we were doing. Yeah. Even my second feature that I did direct, produce, and write, and it's a drama, but nonetheless, it's a lot of work, even on a no budget $5,000 level. It's still a lot of work. So I can't imagine, trying to get investors, trying to get the money. I mean, you guys have a couple of things, and we're going to get to that right now. You guys have a couple of things in the short film that will definitely lend itself to that, where you can tell people like, hey, look what we did. We did things legit. We got this made. Yeah. We're open to criticism and any kind of input on the script. So
sure.
That's cool, man. I really hope you guys, I could definitely see you guys, making this for a nice $1 million, if you can get it,
that'd be great.
And get the movie made. It's still a low budget film. $1 million is nothing for a movie. But I could see you guys maybe, getting that and making at least one, expanding on this. Obviously, you always got to cut corners to make a feature length film, but I could see you guys kind of figuring that out and making it, because it doesn't seem, from what I saw in the short, it doesn't, it seems doable. It seems like you're only expanding. Yeah. It doesn't seem like a huge film. It is contained and kind of small. So I do think I'm rooting for you guys. I hope you guys
appreciate it.
You guys get that. As a fellow filmmaker, I know the struggle. I hope you guys get that money, and you can make it a feature length film. Now we could talk about this finally. So you guys have Tom Atkins, speaking of Halloween 3, on your shirt. You guys nabbed Tom Atkins at the Long Island Convention of Horror. You were in one of my videos, my fun little trivia video, and that's how I saw you. You were wearing a Halloween 3 shirt, I think, that day. I was wearing
a Halloween 3 shirt that day as well. Yeah. Always. Oh, love it.
A different Halloween 3 shirt.
A different Halloween 3 shirt.
Which is nice. And that caught my attention. I was like, I got to try to get this guy on, hence why how we linked up here. I was like, I got to get this guy on. And then you told me, you were like, he's actually in my
Yeah.
film. And I was like,
Yeah.
what?
You like it?
And
What? Yeah.
that piqued my interest because I'm a huge
Yeah.
Halloween 3 fan, obviously,
love it.
as a Halloween guy.
Yeah. You have excellent taste. You have excellent taste.
Thank you. I do my best.
Yeah.
Gatekeeping Halloween 3 right there with you.
Oh, man.
How'd you guys, Tom Atkins is pretty prominent. As a filmmaker, I kind of can see, like, you guys probably had him for 2 or 3 days, I'm guessing, right?
Yeah, we shot the whole short in 4 days.
Yeah.
We only needed him for 2.
Mm-hmm.
So we were, yeah.
How'd you nab him? How did you, because I know you wanted him, because you kind of teased that earlier in the episode.
Yeah.
There was an actor you wanted. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, when we spoke before, you told me you didn't think it would be realistic, and then you actually got in contact with his people and were able to cast him in the film, which is crazy. He's an older actor now, but it's still Tom Atkins at the end of the day. But how'd you nab him?
So before we ever had the money in hand to do the film, we'd written the script, we'd won some awards for the script. We were excited about it. We knew we wanted to make the film. We sent we were like, let's send something out to Tom, So we wrote up a nice cover letter. We printed out 2 copies of the script, and we sent one to physical copies to his agent's office in Manhattan and his agent's office in LA. We're like, let's see if we hear anything. We never heard anything. It probably didn't get past the secretary's desk. They were probably like, who's this? We don't know him. Throw it out. So now fast forward like a year, when we actually have the money in hands, we're going to do this film. And we're like, why don't we reach out to Atkins people again? Like, what's the worst that happens? It's a no, or we don't hear anything, whatever. We're in the same boat we're in right now then. So this time we tried email. We emailed his agent, and we emailed the new cover letter, the script. And we were working weird hours together, Jimmy and I. So we were working 11 p.m. to 5 a.m. because I worked all these closing shifts at my store. I'm a retail manager. And so we sent this letter to him probably at 4:30, 5 in the morning. And by 9:30 in the morning, Jimmy's texting me. He's like, holy shit. He just emailed us back. He wants to know what our offer is for Tom. We're like, whoa, we're on the clock, man. He's like, we have his attention. He's interested. He liked the script and everything. So we literally did it the old fashioned way. We reached out to his agent. Tom and his agent actually were interested. They liked the script, and we hashed out, we reached out to a couple of friends of ours in SAG. We're like, hey man, what would we offer a veteran SAG actor, for a day rate for a couple of days? We want to make sure we offer something where we're not going to sound stupid, we don't know what we're doing. And we also don't want to insult them,
Yeah.
So we got a number. We're like, okay, maybe they'll negotiate us up a little bit, whatever. But we sent them a number. They were like, okay, great. They will take, and then we hammered out all the specifics. And most of it was all the stuff we already knew. It was like, oh, you got to fly him out, of course. You got to put him up in a hotel, of course. You got to provide transportation, of course. It was all this stuff we already knew. And then a couple other things, that he hashed out with us, his agent. But it was like, holy crap, it's real. And then the biggest complication then was doing everything through SAG. So, like I said before, we didn't get that number till right before the weekend before we were going to bring him. But once we got the number, we got the check to his agent. He was able to sign on. He signed on a Monday, and by Wednesday we were flying him over. And
awesome.
So it all came together quick. I mean, we brought him in for 3 days. You only need him 2 days of shooting, but we offered to pay him a third day to come for a table read and rehearsals. We figured, hey, worst case, they just think we're naive and we don't know any better. They're gonna get one over on us to pay him an extra day, or maybe they think we're being really nice and we're offering an extra day pay. But either way, it worked. So we were like, cool,
Did you fanboy when you showed up?
I tried not to, man. And it was because let me tell you, I'm a diehard Tom Atkins fan. I mean, I grew up loving this guy. I mean, again, Halloween 3, like I said, man, I've been loving it since before it was cool, But so and it was funny because when I first got him, it started a little weird because so Jimmy gave me the times his flight was coming in, and I don't know whether he either gave me the wrong flight because there was a couple different ones, or whether his flight got in early. But I'm halfway to the airport, and I get a voicemail from his agent, and then I get a call from Tom. He's already there, and I'm like, oh God, this is terrible. I'm like, now I'm like, this is my first impression. I'm late to pick him up at the airport. So like,
Oh
then I
no.
get to the airport and they're doing all this construction. And so now by the time I'm like looking for him, and it's like a 15-minute lap around the airport to try to get there, I can't find him. I'm on the phone with him. I got to go around 3 times. He's waiting all this time. I'm like, oh, this is the worst. By the time I finally got him. So the first couple minutes, I get out of the car, I let him in. First, like 2 or 3 minutes, it was a little awkward. I was like, oh, man, this is not the foot we wanted to start off on. But then we just started talking, and everything was cool. We got him, brought him back, checked him in his hotel and everything. Like, everything was cool. But, man, at first I was like, God, this is not the foot I wanted to start off with Tom.
You're driving in your car with Tom Atkins. You must have been
I'm
like,
driving.
what?
Oh, it's so surreal. I mean, yeah, even that, like the transportation for him, I'm like, well, shit, I'll drive him to and from the set every day. That's awesome. So I was going and, pulling, producer duty, but I'm like, I'll go drive Tom, and I'm like, I don't want to give that to just anybody. I want to make sure, shit, I'll take that time with Tom every day.
That's awesome.
So I'm picking him up and dropping him off every day. So that was awesome. That was we had a lot of good talks, man. We spent a lot of time talking about stuff, and not just film stuff. We're talking about, women we were in love with, and like times we did this. He's telling me about his time in the Navy. He said it was some of the best times of his life. I mean, it was really cool, man. And Tom and I have remained friends still. We still text each other and email each other. That's been the coolest part. It's been super surreal.
That's awesome.
That's never would have expected something like that coming out of this.
I can't, it's funny when, you go to conventions, you go to these events, and you see these people. And to me, my opinion, I'm not one of those guys that takes pictures, pay to take a picture and get an autograph. It's not my thing. It's not, I've talked about it on the show before. We talked about it recently, actually. Yeah. In my opinion, working with someone you like is cooler. So like the fact that you got to work with Tom Atkins and you were able to like get a project together and he was one of your leads, it will be 10 times cooler than any photo or autograph you can get at a convention.
Right. Absolutely.
Like you're going to cherish that the rest of your life. Just the fact that you were able to work and get him to be a part of your project. So that's awesome, dude. When you told me that, I couldn't believe it. And when I watched the film, I was like, all right, and he's good in it. He's great in it, too.
Yeah, he brings it, man. He brings
Tom Atkins.
And you know what? I'll tell you what, with that, too, he showed up so again, like Tom's a guy, he's established his career. He's done big movies, like he could have come and just phoned it in and been like, whatever, tell me what you want. He showed up to the table read and he came with questions. Like he came with 2 genuine questions where like one of them, we actually added 2 shots to the shot list because he brought up a good point about like, expressing something from like getting from here to here. He brought up a good point where we're like, you're right. We really don't explain that as well as we could. So we added 2 shots to our shot list because of a gap he kind of brought up. So he really came like with questions. He wanted to know about this. He was very cool. I mean, and he hung out with everybody on set. He's telling stories all day. He's taking pictures. He was just a delight, I mean, he was very, very cool. Very cool.
A dream come true, man. And I'm assuming if you guys get the feature made, you're going to try to get him back. I'm guessing.
Of course. I mean, and he's, he said, he would be interested in coming back to reprise the role. That's the best. For those who we haven't talked about yet, his character in the film is Sheriff Atkins. Like we wrote it as this Tom Atkins type. We never thought we'd get him. And then when we did, we were like, he's probably going to be like, you got to change the name, man. He didn't care. He thought it was funny. He was like, Sheriff Atkins. He thought it was funny. So we're like, cool,
Yeah, I did notice a couple of like Halloween homages in their character names.
Sure. We threw some things in there,
Yeah, I did. Couple of Easter eggs and names and stuff, which I thought was really cool. That was funny. I picked up, I think, 1 or 2 character names. I was like, wait a second, that's a character from Halloween 4.
Oh man, no, even when we were kind of like pitching the film, it was kind of like, to us, it was like Halloween 3 Season of the Witch meets Brain Scan. Like we were kind of like, those were kind of the 2 we were blending a little bit for the idea. What was I just gonna say with Tom? There was something I was gonna say that was totally went out of my head. I'll remember it.
It's all good. You mentioned Brains. You guys listen, Halloween 3 and Brain Scan. Sounds
Love
like
it.
that's a perfect combination. So, and I
Oh,
can see
hell
it now.
yeah.
Now that I'm like, after watching your film, I'm like, you know what? I could kind of see the influence with those
Sure,
two
sure.
films, like the way
Yeah,
those
yeah.
two films influenced you.
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely. Love it.
I have a couple of other things I want to ask you. So,
Sure,
how'd you
sure.
guys get that cabinet? You guys bought a
Oh,
cabinet?
oh, so okay, so my production designer, a good buddy of mine, Chris Rowan, great guy, great guy. He went and he sourced he was looking at a bunch of different things. He's asking Jimmy, what kind of cabinet do you want? He's sending him pictures of this, pictures of that. So he sourced that thing. He drove across the state to go get it. And then he kind of reworked it to what we wanted. My buddy Christian Trower, one of my best friends, he created like the skin that we put over it with all the
Yeah.
designs and stuff. Like he created that for us, did us a big favor. And Chris Rowan, he took this cabinet. I'd have to ask. I don't remember actually anymore what it was. What it originally was that he converted it to be our Polybius. And the game footage you see, that obviously wasn't coming from in that game. Like we
Yeah, I
had a guy
figured.
that
Yeah.
created that footage for the movie. But yeah, Chris Rowan built that thing. It was pretty cool. It's in Jimmy's garage right now.
Really? Nice.
It's waiting for its day. So
Because you see people sell them
yeah,
online,
yeah,
so I
yeah.
was curious.
Sure,
Like I said it earlier, you see people sell them. I was curious if you
sure,
guys
sure.
actually bought from one of
Oh
those
yeah.
people, but you guys bought the skin and built it. So
Yeah, yep. They bought an existing cabinet, stripped it down, made it our own. But yeah, that's what we did with that. I remember one of the things I was gonna say before too, when we were talking about Tom, like so, because we were able to get Tom for our film, I've had a lot of other filmmaker friends who have tried to get him for theirs, and unfortunately, sometimes it was a no. And
yeah.
so they come to me like I'm the Tom Atkins whisperer. They're like, "Hey man, hey, any way you might be able to talk to Tom?" And I'm like, look, me and Tom are great. We talk about stuff, but I was like, I know he does appreciate things going through the proper channels. So there were times where people have come to me, filmmakers who are doing bigger projects than I am, and so I'm like, look, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'm like, let me kind of backdoor it for you. I'll shoot him an email and we'll just shoot the breeze and I'll talk about this and that. And I'll be like, oh, by the way, you may hear from your agent because my buddies are doing a film. They're really hoping you're going to like the script. So like I've backdoored stuff for him that way to try to like make him aware of their projects where they weren't getting any answer from his agent because he's pretty hardcore gatekeeper.
I
But yeah,
mean,
so
he has every right to be.
of
So,
course, yeah, of
yeah.
course, yeah. But so
I
yeah, so they look at me like I'm the Tom Whisperer.
I mean, listen, man, you made a movie with him and you talked to him, so I guess it makes sense if they want to use
Sure, sure.
you're the middleman there in that
Yeah, but
situation.
yeah.
Uh,
Hey, if that's what I can offer, sure.
you're the Tom Atkins middleman, the Tom Atkins
Yeah,
whisperer, like you said.
there you go.
We're both New York guys. We both live in New York. I have one thing while watching it. I was like, I gotta ask you because I don't know if I was losing my mind. Uh, the Magic costume store that wasn't a real
Oh
store. Or
yeah,
was
yeah.
that an actual store?
That's an actual real store.
What?
That's this place. I'm not kidding. Yeah, that's a place, Ronjo's Magic Shop. It's it's in like what is that, Coram? I think that's Coram still. Ronjo's Magic Shop. It's been around since like the early '70s.
And it's
And
out
when
on
you
Long
go in there,
Island?
it's on Long Island, yeah. And it looks it when you walk in, you're like, it's pretty old school in here. And the funny thing is, like, he actually in the last like 10 years or so, so he's had that magic shop all those years. Business obviously for magic stuff isn't as big as it once was. So he's got like a
Yeah.
whole corner of the shop that's all like vape stuff now. And we were kind of like hiding, shooting around that. But yeah, he makes most of his money now from the vape stuff. And he said a lot of parents come in, they buy the magic stuff for their kids, and then they pick up their vape stuff while they're there. But we were fortunate to get that location, and that kind of shaped some of the aesthetic there because we didn't have it
Yeah.
written in the script as a magic shop. I mean, that you know how it is. Like when you get a
Yeah.
location, you're like, okay, let me retool this a little bit. So we made it a magic shop in the script after we got that location. But we were looking in all kinds of places. It was like we were looking into little diners, we were looking into little gas stations, we were looking into like we were gonna almost do a motorcycle shop that we could have got. Like we had a couple things, but when we walked in the magic shop, I was like, dude, this is it. We got to get this. This is awesome.
Yeah, you don't see too many of them out in the wild. So when I saw that, I was like, I have to, because I'm gonna go visit it now because
Oh
I
yeah,
did not know it existed. And I was like, oh shit! And I'm
yeah,
always out on Long Island. Like I live in
yeah.
Queens, which is connected
Sure, yeah,
to Long Island, and I have family in Long Island. So
yeah.
yeah, I saw that and I was like, I gotta go visit this store. It sort of reminded me of my first movie, first feature length film we ever worked on. I used to work in a video store. Video store went out
Nice.
of business,
Uh,
and we were able to shoot in the store
oh, cool.
before they completely closed down. So we got like
That's
a day
cool.
there, and we were able to shoot a couple of scenes. I mean, we didn't know what the hell we were doing, so we needed
Yeah,
a video store. So we went in. And the funny thing is, me and Manny, one of my co-hosts, we worked on
yeah.
the project together. We both collect VHS tapes. And a lot of the VHS tapes we bought from that store when it was closing down
Nice,
because we were
nice.
like,
Yeah.
this is when like VHS was dying,
Sure,
and
sure.
I just was
Yeah, it took
buying
its
them
way
up.
out. Yeah,
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 and I still own a bunch of them to this day. Like
yeah.
hard to find shit. I bought, and me and him bought our box. We brought our boxes of VHS tapes and literally put them back on the shelves
Nice.
because the
Back on the
store
shelf. Nice. I love it.
the store
Love
was
it.
empty and the film's a period piece. I use that word
Yeah,
loosely,
yeah,
so it's supposed to be
yeah,
VHS tapes, and yeah. So it reminds me where
yeah.
you find that special location that kind of makes the whole film that feels
Oh yeah.
authentic. The
Oh
store I
yeah.
worked in even had a porn section in the back with two doors, so it was
Yeah,
real
that's the
old
old
school.
school. Yep. Yeah,
And
yeah,
I
yeah.
worked there for like a year, so that was an added.
Nice.
It was funny to work there, not work there anymore, and then go back
Yeah,
to make
yeah,
a
yeah.
movie there. It was
Yeah.
very surreal at the time. And it
Yeah.
just made me laugh, that
Oh, and
was
that's
something we were gonna do.
great production value. You're like, oh man, this is great. Like I'm in an actual video store. I don't have to just replicate all this and try to build
Yeah,
it, bedroom or something. Like hell yeah,
yeah.
great production value for you.
I listen. It didn't make the movie any better, but the movie is what it is. But the video store scene is kind of cool, and some other stuff we were able to get that was authentic to the time period worked out. A couple more things here I wanted to ask, and one thing I really enjoyed about your film is the score. So
Oh
a
yeah.
lot of it is like 8-bit. Someone scored
Oh
that
yeah.
for you guys, I'm
Oh yeah. Yeah.
guessing.
So
Yeah.
good buddy of mine, Josh Benash. He's excellent composer, great musician. This guy's
Awesome.
awesome and a great guy. Great guy. He's another guy Jimmy and I originally met him at the New York City Horror Film Festival. In fact, when our script won, he came and gave us his card. He's like, "Hey man, if you ever get the chance to make it a film, I'd love to work with you." And when we did our film before this, when we did that little no budget movie I was telling you about, Return to South Haven, he
Hmm.
did our score for that, and the score was the best part of that movie, man. Score was awesome.
Ah,
Oh,
awesome.
but so when we were doing Polybius now, we asked him if he wanted to come on board. He's like, "Hell yeah, you're doing a Tom Atkins movie." And this time we were able to afford to pay him and stuff, and it was great. He did a score. He did a great job. He took old like Atari machines, and he was getting like actual sounds out of the old machines. He did all kinds of stuff. We actually went in ADR, like we were speaking different words, and then he was jumbling them up and like messing with them, and he was putting it in there like subliminal messaging and stuff. He did a great job. He's a great guy, great composer, man. I'd love to work with him again on anything. He's awesome.
I mean, music is so important. Like, one of my other co-hosts here, he's a composer too, and he has scored all my stuff. So I know it's always good to have a talented
Oh yeah,
composer.
sure, sure.
Kind of music is so important to film,
Oh
especially
yeah,
horror films. You need to have
especially hard. Oh yeah.
you gotta
Can you
have
imagine? I mean,
good music.
they always say that like when Halloween first screened
Yeah,
without the score, like it was flat, and then he scored it in like 3 days or whatever, and it's like one of the most iconic. I mean, maybe the most iconic horror score of all time. You know what I mean? Yeah, music makes all of the same with Jaws. Jaws when they played it without the score, and then you lay in John Williams' score, it's like
yeah.
unbelievable.
Your score works so well in your film because, again, without spoiling too much, the fact that it's about an arcade cabinet, it's about a game, and it's a
Yeah,
game from 1981, really adds it adds to that aesthetic, that vibe,
sure. Yeah,
and that's
yeah,
really popular now. People love
yeah. What's old is
80s
new again, and the
aesthetics.
'80s. Yeah, the last 10 years, especially the 80s, has been huge again. I mean, when Stranger Things came out, forget it. I mean,
that was the nail in the coffin at that point. It was, I had jumped the shark a little bit.
It started to,
Now everyone's doing 80s pieces and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, your film's great, dude. I really hope you guys are able to make a feature. You guys can get the money together and bring it together. You got a seed there, and hopefully you can plant that seed and it blooms into a feature length film.
A beautiful film. Yeah.
Big Tom Atkins tree.
Big Tom Atkins tree. We would love it. Oh, we would love it.
I'd love to work
with him again, man. We're it's awesome. It'd be great. We're hoping.
Do you have anything else besides the feature length Polybius movie? Do you have anything else you're working on currently?
So I got a couple things I'm writing right now. They're still kind of in the early stages, but I'm writing again, same way we did with Polybius, where we wrote a short to then become a feature. I'm writing a short that I would kick off as a feature, like a succubus demon. I'm writing a short around that. I'm working on a feature script that deals with like the dark history of Salem. I mean, I don't know if you've been to Salem, Massachusetts, but like when you go to Salem, the whole lifeblood of the community is the tourist industry, and you walk around and it's cool and everything, but you're like, man, they've like sanitized this story and made it this clean, Disney-fied, family-friendly thing. But you're like, what really? Their whole thing's based on the town being whipped up into a frenzy and murdering a bunch of girls. This is terrible, but they made it so clean and sanitized. So I got this feature script I'm writing that really is like a Sins of the Father thing coming back to haunt you. And I've been working on an outline for that for a while. I got the idea when I was in Salem.
Salem's awesome, man. Trust me, I've been there.
Salem's awesome.
Listen, man, I have a Halloween podcast. You don't think I've been to Salem 100 times?
Of course. I figured, of course.
Yeah, man. Salem's. I look forward to seeing that project. That's anything based, or there's not enough stuff based in Salem. The last was like the Rob Zombie movie. I feel Lords of Salem was the last Salem movie. Yeah. So
or like the Hocus Pocus stuff. They just did the sequel to that.
The sequel. Yeah.
I heard they're going to do another. I mean, I would have liked to have seen Mick Garrison's original script for the original.
Yeah,
I think it was a darker movie, and like it kind of got cleaned up and family friendly, for the feature. But like, it would have been cool to see his original draft for that script. See what it was like.
Yeah, maybe one day they'll release it so we can all
read it. Release the script and stuff.
Yeah, but yeah, man. I look forward to seeing what you got come down the line, man. What you got coming up?
Definitely,
again, you produced a fun short, and I know right now you guys aren't hitting the festival circuit anymore, but hopefully you release it online, and when you do, I'll be sure to push it out and share it and have people
appreciate it.
Take a look and stuff. Where can people find you, Mike?
So I'm on Facebook and Instagram. Facebook, I'm just Michael Tuie. Instagram, I got to change my name. It's like The Real Mike Tuie. It's like period between everything. It's obnoxious when you're trying to tell someone how to find you. I really got to change that. I haven't yet, but I'm on there, The Real Mike Tuie with periods in the middle. You'll find me. You'll see a picture of this mug. Ain't a Halloween 3 shirt probably. But yeah, that's me. I'm on there.
Thanks so much for being on the show, man. I appreciate it. I'm glad we got to.
Thanks for having me.
I'm glad we got to connect and talk about Polybius, Tom Atkins, Halloween 3,
absolutely,
all that good stuff. So I'm sure I'll have you on again in the future.
That'd be great.
And be sure to subscribe. Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Blue Sky. Every social media at Haunted Hangover. Head over to hauntedhangover.com where you can find links to everything, including our Patreon page, where you can gain early access to episode and bonus content. Rate and review us. That'd be greatly appreciated. And as always, remember, the best cure for a hangover is
more booze. Keep drinking, always.
Yes. Catch you guys later.